Thanks for clicking on a very special second anniversary celebration of ZeitGeist. Yes, we've been touching people's lives for 2 years now, and the congratulatory messages have been absolutely pouring in from across the country and indeed from around the world. Why, just moments ago, we received a cable from the White House. It reads in part, "Thank you for your recent inquiry about tickets to the White House Easter egg roll. Unfortunately, we cannot honor your request at this time." Okay, that's the wrong cable. But this isn't about me. This is about the people who have made ZeitGeist possible over the last 2 years. First and foremost, we give thanks to Jesus. More specifically, the Jesus who appeared in a prenatal ultrasound test in Miami. This episode of ZeitGeist with the apparent face of Christ in an ultrasound image was our most viewed show ever. That was just one of the many images of Jesus we witnessed here. This is Cheesus, the Cheeto that looks like Jesus on the cross. Speaking of world icons, our special thanks to Paris Hilton, the woman whose incarceration was the lead story in our very first show on this date in 2007. We also owe a great debt of gratitude, of course, to President George W. Bush. His dancing and playing of drums with the West African dance troupe moved us, as did his flying chest bump with a graduating second lieutenant at the United States Air Force Academy a year ago. To the dear leader, we offer our dear thanks. Kim Jong-il, the world's most amusing midget dictator, has filled our shows with wonderment these last 2 years. Another foreign head of state, Vladimir Putin, needs to be recognized here, mainly for his topless fishing trip. You know, little people have contributed a great deal to the success of ZeitGeist. People like young Duffy Lucas, a contestant on the 1980s child talent show, Putting on the Kids.
Right now, our first contestant. He enjoys doing acrobatics and working with computers, he tells us. So he's here with Phil Collins' studio, 11-year-old Duffy Lucas.
Sensational. You know, we always like to see children getting into show business as early in life as possible. We've been inspired by another group of small people here, the Indian babies who were tossed off the roofs of buildings in a centuries-old religious ritual. This was also one of our most viewed shows, and I think you can see why. There are fallen child heroes who deserve our thanks too. These mannequin children are blown to smithereens as part of a national fireworks safety display each and every summer. Their loss of limbs is our gain in entertainment value. And we would be remiss in our thanks of little people if we didn't mention Gary Coleman. When he allegedly backed over someone with his pickup truck after a fight at a Utah bowling alley, he gave us so very much and asked of us so very little. Thank you, Mr. Coleman. On the other end of the height spectrum, we recognize the world's tallest man who enjoys riding the world's largest bicycle. Thank you, good sir. And now for the real heroes, the people who are the lifeblood of our show. I think you'll recognize them as the stars of this rich pageant we call ZeitGeist. This is the drag queen who robbed a Burger King in Louisiana. Guy put on a dress and some accessories that matched his shoes, climbed in through the drive-thru window at a Burger King, and held up the place. Thank you, drag queen who robbed a Burger King. We tip our caps also to the man who was caught recently having sex with this car wash vacuum cleaner. We thought we'd heard it all until you came along, sir. Thank you to the Ohio man who arrested for DUI while riding his homemade motorized bar stool. Impressive indeed. To this gentleman we give thanks. He got drunk and shot his lawnmower with a sawed-off shotgun when it wouldn't start for him last summer. We feel lucky to have met him. Thank you also to the young woman who punched a horse in Tampa. Turns out that's against the law. Who knew? And thanks again to the fellow who disguised himself for a liquor store robbery by wrapping his head in duct tape. As you may remember, this did not end well for him. Thank you, duct tape bandit. We'd also like to thank some of the many celebrities who've made the last 2 years of ZeitGeist exciting, unpredictable, and yes, glamorous. Thank you, Harry Potter, for visiting our studio in this memorable interview. It was here the world first learned of your passion for dog racing and of your addiction to Jack Daniels. Thank you, Wolverine, for last week's exclusive interview. We were blessed to spend even a few minutes with a star of your gelatinous stature. And thank you to Gary the Alien. He was kind enough to sit down with me to dispel some of the ugly stereotypes about beings from other planets. Gary, your courage continues to inspire us all. Celebrity Gary Busey has given so much to ZeitGeist. The gratuitous use of photographs like this one as a punchline has saved our show on many an occasion. And finally, thank you, Marissa Miller, for everything. On days when we had no real story to report, we would often use your image to lure people into the show. Then we would talk about something else altogether. It's completely dishonest, but it works. So thank you, Marissa. And of course, thanks to all of you who've clicked off your free porn sites just long enough to watch ZeitGeist over the last 2 years. My producer, John Astorita, and I appreciate it, and we're sorry for wasting your time. That's ZeitGeist for today. We'll be back here, as always, with much more of the news you cannot use.